Greetings and blessings, everyone. This is yours truly, Chassie Wormington, aka All That Chaz, aka Lupus Slayer. I'm real swollen right now and flared up. Allergies have been kicking my behind for about almost 2 weeks now. So I don't have on my lashes. So I'm looking real plain and bland, but I don't care. Because I want to talk to you guys about something very, very important. And it's a subject, it's a topic that a lot of people do not like to talk about, especially, I'm trying to be funny, but melanated people, because of the stigma. And excuse my nails, I'm taking off my nails. See, look. See how I just bent that one? I'm getting ready to change out my set. But anyway, because there's a stigmatism and stereotype assumption that was stereotypical assumptions about Black people, no matter what the race or nationality is. Society has always tried to make it seem like we have mental disorders, period. But we know that statistically it shows that we're not the number one group. As a matter of fact, we're the lowest group, one of the lowest group. We're not even in the top 10. Not worldwide. We're not in the top 10 in the USA. Of course, they'll have us in that because they want to validate their stereotype, their stereotypical analyzation or theory. But in all actuality, we do not have a high rate of mental health issues. So let me get into this with you guys about a situation, a flare-up that I had, a psychotic flare-up that I had that was caused by a chronic disease, a medical health issue that I have. So back in September, let me go back a little bit. Okay, so I would say that I started seeing subtle signs, but I did not realize that it had anything to do with anything that was going on with me chronic illness wise in my medical and health. I thought it was because of the mental health issues that I battle, because I do battle depression and anxiety, post-traumatic stress disorder. It's because I've experienced a lot of trauma throughout my life. I mean, a lot of trauma. So I have panic attacks. I have nervous breakdowns, emotional meltdowns, and stuff like that. So in my mind, when I would have these episodes, psychotic episodes, I never really put it two and two together, even though I know that because lupus is one of the chronic diseases I have, lupus SLE, and I also have it with a condition, a chronic disease called mixed connective tissue disease. Now I'm going to talk to you guys about the mixed connective tissue disease, because that is something that I noticed there's not much research or study on clinically wise, and you don't really see anybody really campaigning or bringing awareness about mixed connective tissue disease. I was focused with my campaign, Gloves On campaign, with lupus primarily, because it seemed like lupus was the foundation for everything else that transpired, all the other chronic diseases and illnesses that I end up developing. I never thought that about mixed connective tissue disease. So even prior to the incident that happened, the psychotic meltdown that I had back in September, actually it was on my birthday, it was August the 28th. And I was in a very an extremely distressful situation. I was also malnourished. I was dehydrated. My blood pressure was through the roof. I was having lack of oxygen. I wasn't getting the proper amount of oxygen. I was coherent, but at the same time I wasn't. I was kind of like, it was like out of body experience. So with this, I became, with this psychotic flare up, I didn't understand why it happened to the degree that it happened. Because I've had those flare ups before, but it was never to that extent, except one other time, but not, well, no, let me take that back. It came close to being to that extent one other time. And so I have these emotional meltdowns and anxiety attacks because of all the trauma that I've been through. So I never thought that it would be a medical issue. I thought it was all on a mental. And that's how a lot of people think. They think if you have a mental, if you having a mental psychosis, breakdown, meltdown, or whatever, they automatically assume it's only solely mental. That is psychological. They don't never think to say or think that it has something to do with a physical, medical health condition that you're battling. So with this stated, I really start trying to figure out what was going on. So what ended up happening is when I calmed down some, came off that high, the EMS paramedics was very nice, very patient, very understanding. Even when I was admitted to a behavior health facility, I had 7. I spoke with, well, I was seen by seven different psychiatrists, medical expert, and doctors that deals with people who have chronic illnesses and have psychosis. So I was seeing psychiatrists, therapists, and nurse practitioners for mental health. And one of the things that they kept pointing out to me, actually, it wasn't me pointing these things out. They were pointing it out to me. They were like, so you have mixed connective tissue disease. They were more focused on that than the lupus. And it was kind of weird because I was just trying to figure out like why they keep focusing on the mixed connective tissue disease. So while I was in the facility, I wasn't able to access my phone because they take your phone from you, which is crazy. I'm like, is it supposed to be a hospital or a jail? So that's considered contraband. So they wouldn't allow me to have access to my phone. So once I got out, about 9 days later, 9 or 10 days later, I was discharged. When I was able to, I started really looking into mixed connective tissue disease because I really wanted to know what all it does. Now, I knew of a lot of the health issues that it caused, like start deteriorating my teeth, in the front and in the back. It started deteriorating my muscle tissues where I stumble a lot, my balance is off, I drop things a lot. you know, I get confused a lot when I'm trying to process information. It's like it gets stuck, brain fog. That with the that with the lupus SLE on top of that. So I was just really trying to find out what is it about mixed connective tissue disease, because even though I researched it, obviously I wasn't really researching the mixed connective tissue disease portion. I was mostly looking at and researching the lupus SLE, because again, seemed like that was the basis and the foundation for all these other chronic diseases to flare up. And all of this happened when I was from the result of me being in a car accident. And these things start showing themselves, gradually over time. Therefore, when by the time the statute of limitations to file, claims and stuff like that and further medical treatment and compensation, it had expired, because you only have up to 3 years. And I'm working so hard to have that changed, because I know that from my own experience, a lot of things was not able to really be detected accurately until like 4 or 5 plus years after the car accident. And it derived from other conditions or other illnesses or injuries that me sustained in the car accident, and it created these other issues. So, long story short, I'm gonna try to anyway. When I started really doing research on that, I was shocked to find out that mixed connective tissue disease, when you're under stress, and it doesn't have to just be like stress of situations that you're going through, like economical hardship, or homelessness, loss of job, loss of loved one, grievance, a bereavement. Um, it, it it doesn't just stop there, and it doesn't just affect your speech either. It doesn't just only cause the speech impediment, but it also causes psychotic meltdowns. And I kept researching. So I called my rheumatologist, and I asked my rheumatologist about it. And my rheumatologist explained it to me. And when after I speak to my rheumatologist, the 7 different doctors and specialists that I saw during my time of the flare up and being admitted into the behavioral health hospital, they were all telling me the exact same thing. And when I started just really deep diving into mixed connective tissue disease, I was shocked to find out that it causes mental psychotic meltdowns. And the reason why it's often overlooked or dismissed, because when a person is having a mental meltdown, they never ever, hardly ever connect it to something that they're going through physically, health wise, medically. They never usually look at that. And then it's vice versa too. If somebody is having a physical medical breakdown, meltdown, or flare up, they don't never automatically connect that to or see it as something mental. It's like those kind of, it never correlates to say, okay, well, this person is having this physical medical flare up because of what's going on with them mentally. And then it's the same way when somebody's having something physical, medical, they don't never put it together. Okay, it's causing them to have this mental meltdown or this mental episode. And it was so mind-boggling to me, and I was so shocked. And I mean, even still today is very emotional, because I really haven't talked to anybody about it, because you have to be real careful when you go public and you talk about things like this, because people like to stereotype you, and they get very biased towards you. They discriminate against you because they'll be like, oh, I knew she was crazy. Oh, she. And it doesn't have anything to do with it at all. As far as like just a total mental health issue, the mental health issue is because of the physical health issue, the medical health issue. It's not the mental health issue causing the physical health issue, is vice versa. It's the physical medical health conditions and illnesses and diseases that I'm battling that has started affecting me in my mental health as well. It's made it worse, in other words, because I learned about trauma and psychological trauma and emotional abuse and stuff like that, when I was like in my 30, yeah, because nobody never explained it to me. I never understood it, and I never really had any reason to really study it. And excuse me, what made me start researching it in my 30s is I had a neighbor, and a real nice lady, real nice, but she went missing. and they thought maybe she had dementia or something. They were like, oh, she's an older lady. She probably just had, dementia. Again, they put the stigma and stereotype. They stereotype you. But it wasn't that at all. She had been battling grave disease, and what was the other one? She got, oh my gosh, I can't think of. I'm going to think of it after I finish doing the video, then I'm going to remember. But needless to say, it was the physical medical conditions that she was battling that was causing her to have these psychotic meltdowns and delusions and things of that nature. And so I was, because there's a saying that says mind over matter. It's mind over matter. But it's not only just mind over matter, it's also that you can have physical trauma to your body that can affect you psychologically. It can affect your nervous system. It can affect your brain, the brain waves, the way it flows, the way it processes, the way it communicates with your body. And a lot of people don't ever want to acknowledge that, because I think it's easier for them to not do that, to ignore it, because maybe they themselves or someone that they know real close to them may be having or have had those same issues, and for them they don't want to deal with it. When a lot of people don't want to deal with something, they're very dismissive of it, or they don't want to try to understand it. They don't want to try to see it the way it is. It's not even your perspective. No, this is what it is. This has been proven. There's been research and studies on it, on people, with these conditions and the way they act, the patterns. It's a consistent pattern. And with mixed connective tissue disease, it affects each person who has it differently. And if you have mixed connective tissue disease on top of other chronic diseases like lupus, MS, which I also have, muscular sclerosis, with vasovagal syncope, it can create it creates other issues, because your antibodies and your nervous system is completely out of whack. It's completely out of sequence. And when it's just like you think about your car, if you don't put the right oil in your car, it'll start running differently, right? So that's pretty much what happens is when things doesn't connect properly in your body. Our body works together. Every blood cell, every nerve cell, every muscle tissue, every skin cell, all of these things work together. And when one is off, as they say, one weak link can ruin can ruin the whole chain, can break the whole chain, and it's true. So if it's just one thing that is causing division in your health, your physical health, it can also affect your mental health, because it can deprive you from getting the oxygen you need when your body is under stress. And when your body is under a lot of stress, you're under a lot of adrenaline as well. And anybody know adrenaline it works two ways. It can usually, when it's with a panic situation or a distressful situation, the adrenaline, and there's no, like, say for instance, some people, their adrenaline can kick in if somebody's trying to harm them, and they're able to use their adrenaline would then focus on saving their lives. So, okay, I got to save my life. I'm in a dangerous situation. The adrenaline can kick in for that, or to see a child get ready to get hit by a car, and the adrenaline kicks in, and next thing you know, you find yourself running out in the street just to try to save the child. So adrenaline can work that way, but it can also work against you, where when you're in a psychosis state, when you're in a stressful state, and it causes psychosis because your physical body is stressed and your physical body is under attack, when your physical body is having flare-ups from conditions and diseases, chronic illnesses and diseases. it can cause that. That's why a lot of times anybody who's had family members that may have had cancer, especially if it was in the high stages, like stage 3 or stage 4, and they had to take the more types of medication, stronger medications, they'll have psychosis, they'll have these mental breakdowns and meltdowns, they will have these delusions and things of that, because the chemical in our body is completely imbalanced. We're not getting the proper oxygen in our brains. We're not getting the things that we need to be coherent and to focus and to be able to be stabilized, so that we can not have that kind of psychotic meltdown, because we're not in control. It's just like if somebody hits you real hard from the back, and the road is real, just imagine the road is real wet and it's slippery, or even if it's dry, and you get hit really aggressively from the back or from the side, that's just out of 10 your vehicle is going to careen out of control, and you cannot control it. No matter how good of a driver you are, you're not going to be able to control the gravity, the nature of the elements of gravity. Things just going to happen because you just don't have any control of it. Well, it's the same way when these psychotic flare-ups happen, when you have these kind of distresses, and you're not thinking that it will extend to that level, because like we stated, we never had it to that degree. But I didn't understand that it was mixed connective tissue disease more so than the lupus SLE that was causing me to have panic attacks and emotional distress, even the more like it's like the mental, as they call mental health issues with the post-traumatic stress disorder, the trauma and anxiety, depression that I was already dealing with, it escalated. It got like 200% times worse once I was in a car accident, and my antibodies in my system just got completely thrown out of sequence. And I started developing these different types of chronic diseases and illnesses as a result of it. Things started getting worse. And in my mind, we're not putting two and two together because I didn't understand. I really didn't understand. I didn't really find out verbatimly what what I was battling in my body physically until like 4+ years later. When it came to like the chronic diseases, I didn't know that. I knew the back injury and stuff, and like I get these pains. I have back spasms, and I get these pains shooting up from my spine up into the back of my head, like at the bottom. I get those. So those, I understand. Okay, that's because of the back injury, but I never knew that the other injuries that I sustained it created that's internal in my nervous system, in my muscle tissue, in my blood cells, in my my blood, my blood cell. I didn't realize in my brainwave, I didn't realize that me was being affected by those things, that it was going to be causing me to have these types of flare-ups, psychotic flare-ups, because I didn't understand it. I was just really ignorant and uneducated to it. So now I've really been doing a lot of research on it, because I really want, I'm hoping that there's something other than giving people prescribed medications, because even with the anxiety medications, or the mental medications that they give you, mental health medications, mental illness medications they're prescribed, they would tell you, because the psychosis is something that developed from mixed connective tissue disease. It's not guaranteed that it'll work, and there's no defined cure for mixed connective tissue disease. it's still something that haven't even really been as vividly researched as other chronic diseases like MS and lupus and Graves' disease and stuff like that, Graves' disease. So it's 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 a battle, and it's kind of it's disheartening to me, because it's like, how can you cure yourself or get a cure for something when it works in so many different ways against you or against a person? Because the way mixed connective tissue affect me may not affect somebody else who have it. Same thing with lupus. There's 5 different types of lupus, so depending on the type of lupus, we may have a lot of similar symptoms, but there's going to always be other symptoms that stand out and that the other person with a different type of lupus not going to have and not going to experience. So it's kind of hard, and it's just, I can't think of the word to say. It's very challenging to be able to fight against something that you don't even know how it comes at you or affects you. We may think that it affects us in a certain way. Yeah, we see certain patterns and things like that. But even if we see it in a certain pattern, it switches. It never comes the same way. So how do you it's like somebody who drives home and they go different routes every time. Like, say if there was a stalker and they decided they're going to go a different route, it's like, because that stalker won't know what route that person may take, they won't be able to always keep up with them. Well, that's the way it is with mixed connective tissue disease and treating it, because it never comes the same way. Most times it may just affect this, it just may affect my vision, or it may just affect my cognitiveness. It may just affect my oral health, dental health, so you don't know how it's going to affect you, how it's going to come, when it's going to come, when you're going to have a flare up, how aggressive the flare up is going to be, how long it's going to be. As with any chronic disease and illnesses, you never know the capacity in which it's going to come. So it's like you can't prepare for it. You just can't. You could try to, you could try to prepare for it, but you don't know. Because, say for instance, there's been times where I've gone to the gym or just in the neighborhood and I would jog 4 miles and I won't have any problem at all. But I could get up and go to the bathroom, and that could cause me to have a flare up. I could pass out. You just never know. Go and fix something to eat, make a sandwich. That could cause me to have a flare up. So because you never know how it's going to come and how aggressive it's going to be and how long it's going to last, you just cannot properly prepare for it or stop it, because you don't know when it's going to happen and how it's going to happen, how long it's going to happen. It's like you just going with, you take it as it comes, and then you can only address it as it comes, minute by minute, hour by hour, day by day. That's all you can do. So I really would love to have as much support as possible with this, because it has really affected my life, and it affects relationships with people that I love and care for, because they don't understand it. They thinking it's an excuse. Oh, that's just an excuse. It's not an excuse. This is realization. This is what I'm living. This is what I'm dealing with. This is what's happening to me. It's not something that is made up. It's not fictional. it is true. So I don't know. Is ooh, it's an emotional roller coaster. It's emotional. It can be very scary because you don't. With me, like, I could be out in the public and I could start feeling dizzy, or I could start feeling palpitations. I could start feeling chest pains. I could start feeling like I'm lost, like I'm confused. I can't gather my thoughts. I can't process information. I can be forgetting crucial details of things, forgetting to even handle very important business matters. It could be anything, and even things that I do routinely, I could forget. And I don't plot it, I don't plan it, it just happens. So with this stated, I would really appreciate it if you guys can go to my Gloves On campaign. Inside my petition, I have a Gloves On campaign Facebook page, and I would really love for you guys to click on that link and sign that petition, because it's scary to live with a condition, with a disease, a physical disease that causes psychosis, and you don't know how to treat it. Even the medical professionals, they don't know how to treat it because of the way it is. You can't treat the condition itself. You can only try to minimize the symptoms. The symptoms don't never go away. They're going to always stay there because you got the disease. But they try to minimize the conditions, the symptoms, and prevent as much flare up or as many flare ups as possible. But it still isn't guaranteed because, again, because because you don't know how your body's going to respond, or how the condition is going to affect you. The flare-ups are going to happen. What could cause the flare-up? You could just be sitting down watching TV. There's been plenty of times just been sitting down watching a movie, or a documentary rather, and or even just reading a book, and I would have aggressive flare up, and they would last a long time. Like, they would be lasting for days, not just the whole day or just an hour or two. No, they'll last for. I've I've had flare ups that have lasted me for 6 consecutive months, for a whole year. Like, every single day, the flare ups would be so bad that I couldn't get out the house. I had to get people to do stuff for me, and if I tried to just go outside and go downstairs or something, I would start shaking, and I would lose strength in my body, and particularly my legs, and my legs would give up from up under me and I'll fall. So you just never know how it's going to affect you. So it's been a very scary situation. And I'm gonna be honest, I be real nervous a lot of times when I'm out in public. I don't like to go out in public unless I absolutely have to, because I never know if or when I'm going to have a flare up. It does cause me anxiety, because if I'm out, and especially if I start feeling a certain kind of way, I have to start breathing, you know, controlling my breathing. And a lot of times they don't help. Because, again, chronic diseases don't care about all that breathing exercise stuff. It's going to do whatever it wants to do. It's a bully. They're bullies. And they just will bulldozer over whatever you try to do to try to eliminate it, you minimize it. They don't care if you feel, if the disease feel like it's going to flare, it want to flare up and put you in the hospital. It's going to do it, put you in a coma, which that's happened to me. I arrived at the hospital, DOA. I've had 5 consecutive seizures and was completely unconscious. It's just, that's what it does, And so I really am reaching out and asking anybody who have mixed connective tissue disease, or know anybody with mixed connective tissue disease, please let me know what your symptoms are, how it affects you, because I want to do my own study and research so that we can hopefully find some type of answer, or find some kind of way to combat this disease, because it has really cost me a lot of hardship. It has changed my life in so many ways, and I mean, not the same person. It was bad, and I don't have the same motivation and drive, not because I don't want to, the lack of trying. It's just that I find myself dealing with something and I don't know how to fight it. And I don't know what else I can do to protect myself and keep it from taking over my life, to keep it from, causing me distress, causing healthy relationships with people to become dissolved because they don't understand what I'm dealing with. They don't understand how it's affecting me and what I have to deal with, not just physically, but emotionally with it. And it really hurts because it's like the reactions that it causes me to have pushes people away, it run people away from me. And I just really want answers and try to find a cure, so I don't find myself being without anybody for support and help, because they get stressed out and they get frustrated with me. They don't understand what I'm dealing with and how it affects me. Even if they had the same condition, say they had the same chronic disease, just because it affects me the way it affects me doesn't mean it'll affect them in the same way. So when people don't understand that, when they're not the ones that's battling it and dealing with that, it's easy for them on the outside to make assumptions and to, come to their own, thinking about it. But I really don't know what else to do. And it gets really hard emotionally, because my intent is never to hurt anybody that I love, to push them away, to run them away, because there's definitely the last flare-up that I had of muscular tissue disease has really put a wedge between me and my son's relationship. And I haven't seen him in about 2 months. I saw one time when I got discharged, I spoke to him by chance because I ended up running into him. But other than that, he doesn't want to have anything to do with me. I know he still loves me, but it's just a lot for a person to deal with emotionally, with people who love you and they seeing these things. They seeing you having these psychotic meltdowns. They don't understand that it's not something that you can control. They thinking that you can control it. No, I cannot control it. Antidepressants, they're not going to control it, because it's not a mental health issue. It is a medical chronic disease issue that causes me to have psychotic and mental issues. And so I was like really shocked when I really learned all the details of everything that I said and what I did, because I'm gonna be honest with you, I was kind of like it was like a blackout. Like I wasn't myself. I didn't understand what I was doing. I didn't understand what was going on. And I was trying to play it all. I was trying to be strong, trying to process it all. But even still today, I still don't understand it. And I do want help for it. That's why I do outpatient. I'm in the outpatient treatment. But they even told me, they was like, it's not guaranteed that this is going to help, because what you're dealing with is not mental. You have physical diseases. You have medical conditions that affects you mentally. And until the physical medical portions are able to be resolved or minimized, I'm going to continue to have the mental effects of it. And that's not what I want. I'm sorry. I really did not get on here to break down like this, but it's really hard, and I don't understand how they can send a person to the moon, put dang on pods, hair on my file, pods on the moon, and there's space for people to live in, but they say they can't find a cure for these type of medical diseases and conditions that is turning people's lives upside down. I don't get it. They do sex change operations and all of this stuff, but damn, you can't find something to keep me from having, psychosis because of something that I'm dealing with medically and in my health. I just have to fight it the best way I know how, and I know that I can't do it by myself though. So I reach out and I'm asking people to help, and it's really hard for me to come forward to admit to this. And one of the main reasons I struggled to come forward with it is because for the longest, even when I was a child, I was constantly called crazy and retarded. I was picked on and bullied by people in my own family. They used to say stuff like that about me for no reason, and I wasn't like that. It was just they were just being mean. So with me battling these chronic diseases that's causing me to have these mental and psychotic breakdowns, it kind of like sometimes I'd be scared. I would, that goes in the back of my mind, because I would, it makes me feel like, well, maybe I was and just was in denial about it, but it wasn't that at all. I was traumatized. I had been going through a lot of trauma all my life. So it's just like, I think my body just kind of shut down. Oh, wow. But in a nutshell, that's pretty much what I'm dealing with. And that really need help and support. I don't want nobody else walking out my life because of it. I don't want nobody giving up on me. If you're going to be a friend, be a friend and support me. Don't criticize, don't judge, because you don't know what I'm going through. You don't know how hard it is, and it's hard on them too. That's the thing. Like, it's hard on those who's watching, because they don't know what to do, and they don't know what to make of it, and they don't understand that it isn't something that you can control. They don't get it. They don't understand that it is a medical condition that is causing those kind of psychotic and emotional and mental meltdowns, breakdowns, attacks. They don't get it. They just don't. They thinking you're making it up. They think you're delusional. They thinking you trying to use that as an scapegoat and not take accountability or responsibility. Well, you can't take accountability and responsibility for something that you can't control. That's just like if it start pouring down rain and there's a bad thunderstorm and it struck a tree, and the tree it breaks and fall into the to the ground. You can't blame that person who's driving that car for getting hit and struck by that tree, as it was something beyond their control. And that's the way it is with these chronic diseases, stuff that no matter how much you try to control it, and a lot of people try, oh, Dr. CB, and, you ought to do this. It's like, I've done all those things. I'm not a negligent person when it comes to things like that. I'm very particular about what I put in my body. I do holistic eating, herbal, and all of these things I was doing while, prior to the car accident, and even after the car accident. It isn't that simple, and a lot of people really think it's just that simple, and it's not, because I know such and such, what they did. Everybody's body is different, and a lot of people don't want to accept that. And I don't go back and forth, because a lot of times I get a lot of people, they want to try to attack because they thinking that it's just a quick remedy, and all you got to do is have some herbs and stuff, and it'll just, your body just bounce back. It doesn't work that way, because if that's the case, my body would have been bounced back. It would have been bounced back. And as a matter of fact, my team of doctors at Emory, they told me, had me not had a healthy lifestyle the way I did, that I would have been taken out, that the diseases would have been taking me out, because my body wouldn't have been strong enough to fight against it. So I'm grateful for that. But yeah, so if anybody have mixed connective tissue disease, or you know anybody who have mixed connective tissue disease, please, please, please sign my gloves on campaign petition, and you can sign it whether you have mixed connective disease or not. But I really want you to share your symptoms and the flare-ups and anything that you've experienced, health and mental wise, battling mixed connective tissue disease, because it is something that is overlooked, and people don't really, a lot of medical experts and studies does not really focus on mixed connective tissue disease, because it's not popular, and it's not something that a lot of people talk about who even have it. They don't really acknowledge it, but it is something that don't need to be ignored. It's a condition that shouldn't be ignored. It's this chronic disease that causes all kinds of problems, from messing with your muscle tissues, your nervous system. It can cause internal problems with your kidneys and your liver, and messes with you mentally, messes with your brain waves, with your oxygen, messes with your nutrient. It's a bully. It's ooh, yeah. But anyway, I really appreciate you guys, and thank you for listening to me. And I'm gonna fight this. We're gonna fight this, and I just pray for strength, for peace. I pray that God just guide me in the universe, just carry me through everything and show me what to do. Help me get the resources that I need. Help me get the answers that I need. Help me, with this whole process, so that, hopefully some resolutions can come out of this, because nobody should have to live like this. It's a form of torture, and it's like being held hostage against your will, because you don't know when it's going to attack and how badly it's going to attack. It's like being kidnapped and by someone, and you never know if when they're gonna beat you or rape you or whatever. And it's like it's an emotional raping. It is, and it's very difficult to deal with the mixed connective tissue disease. symptoms and flare-ups. It's really difficult. So thank you for listening again. God bless, one love, peace. Out like a light.